Hi everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to just have a very normal conversation with you all. I'm not going to give you any tips or advice, but I'm just going to talk to you about my phases of UPSC preparation. I'm going to tell you about the kind of feelings, the kind of thought process, the kind of challenges I faced, or the kind of confidence I had when I started preparing for UPSC preparation. Then within the first 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 12 months, and even after the first attempt, how I felt about UPSC preparation, what were my thoughts, what were the kind of things I used to go through that I feel a lot of aspirants who are today taking the UPSC exam also message me about. So I'm going to talk about all these things, and hopefully these things will kind of ease your mind, will help you to look at the bigger context of things when you're preparing for UPSC. And these things will also help you to not worry about the future, but focus on the present and really do your best when you're preparing for UPSC. So in the year 2014, that is when I started my UPSC preparation. And at that time, my brother, my younger brother Anuj Jindal, he had already started his UPSC preparation. He had already actually appeared in the interview for a couple of times, and he was obviously someone I looked up to when it came to preparation at that time because he had reached the interview stage. At that time, I did not as such have any plans to appear for UPSC because at that time I was thinking, why to go into the government job? Instead, I will continue in the private sector. But whatever you call it luck, you call it destiny. I decided to prepare for UPSC. I decided to take some help from Anuj, and I dove into the preparation right away. And there are a few things that went into my mind when I started the preparation. So the first time I looked at the UPSC syllabus, it was not as daunting to me. I was a little bit, I think, overconfident at that time. I felt that I could clear this exam because after reading the syllabus, I had a genuine interest in the different subjects. I read geography, I read history, I, in my school days, I was interested in these subjects. Even in my college days, I was interested in these subjects. And then I had studied economics and management in my graduation. So when I saw the management syllabus, then I was very confident. I thought, oh, I have studied all these topics sometime before in college, so I will be able to easily handle the optional exam. But all these myths eventually broke because when you actually start getting into the UPSC preparation, the reality comes to you. And that reality is that UPSC exam, it might look easy on paper, it might look doable on paper. To some people who are not giving their first exam in life, competitive exam, they might have appeared for IIT, IIMs, they might have appeared for some other law competitive exam, or even in boards, it's almost like a competition nowadays. So I feel like for most of the Indian students who are who have gone through this kind of a huge competitive cycle in their life, they will feel that, okay, this syllabus looks large, there are a lot of things to cover, but I can study it. But after getting selected, I found out that a lot of aspirants actually don't even read the syllabus when they're starting to appear for UPSC. So I think that way I was lucky because my brother, he was able to tell me that you should study the syllabus first, you should go through the syllabus properly, you should subject by subject to figure out your sources, and then you start studying for those particular sources. He also recommended me a few sources at that time, few books at that time, from which I started my UPSC preparation. So that way I started my UPSC preparation, and my UPSC preparation was going smoothly when I started for the first time because I started with subjects that I was familiar with. And I always tell students that whatever subject you are familiar with, let's say you have studied political science in school or college, just start with that subject. Try to finish polity first or try to finish environment first because that will really help you to finish something and get it out of the way and have some confidence built in that okay, I have done one subject, now I have five six more to go. So I started with economics because I was an economics student, and it really helped to put this context in my mind that okay, whatever I studied in economics, same thing is coming in UPSC with a little bit of current affairs portion that I have to additionally study. But I was able to enjoy the journey so far because I had studied economics and I was not finding it very difficult to catch up with the subject that I had already studied. So that is the first step for me into the UPSC preparation. And I still remember I had picked up the Shriram notes. Shriram notes are the notes of one of the coaching institutes in Delhi, which are quite popular for economics. But I was like, okay, I think I can do better than these notes because I have some books that I've studied for economics. I picked up the NCRT book, and these are better for UPSC preparation for economics. So I started using those books, and then I was able to prepare for economics pretty well. And then I understood one lesson from UPSC, that sometimes it's okay to follow the sources that are given by the toppers. I think 90% of the times you should follow those particular sources because those sources are good. But sometimes, if you know a subject well enough, and if you feel that you can use some other source which might be better for the preparation, looking at the syllabus of UPSC and some of the old papers of UPSC, then you should definitely go for that particular source that you think is good. But that source should be reliable. It should have some kind of authenticity to it. It should not be some random author writing about something. There are a lot of like that. Like there are a lot of magazines in the UPSC market which are very random, and I don't understand how aspirants still go ahead and buy them. So my idea was that I will try to see for sources that I like, even though they are recommended by some toppers. So at that time, for example, I'll give you art and culture notes by Nitin Singhania sir were available in the market. They were just his handwritten notes, and you could have downloaded them, but no book had come out. So that was that phase. And now that book is the Bible of UPSC aspirants for art and culture, pretty much. But at that time, there was no such book, just his notes. So I downloaded his notes and I started studying them. Then I thought, okay, these are note format, but I need to understand this better. I need to have a better understanding of this. So I went back to the ancient history NCERT book, because without studying ancient India NCERT, without studying the history of ancient India, I think it's pretty useless to study the art and culture, because all the art and culture comes from, most of the art and culture you will be studying or you will be tackling in UPSC comes from the ancient portion of Indian history and from medieval also. So you need to understand the historical context first of India at that time in order to study the art and culture. Unless you know the history of Indus Valley civilization, of Maurya civilization, you cannot possibly go into the art and culture that was produced at that time. Okay, that would be like kind of trying to study something you don't have any foundation. All right. So that will be something like doing multiplication. 5 into 5 is 25. Trying to do multiplication if you don't know even how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So first you have to learn how to count. So that is what I did first. I went back to the absolute core books to learn about these core concepts. So I learned art before I learned art history. I went to the ancient history book and learned that. Similarly, before I learned polity, I went to the NCRT India Constitution at Work and I did some Google search and I learned some basics of Indian polity, and then I went into the Lakshmikant book. Similarly, when I was studying environment, now at that time Shankar IAS book was there, but still I was not convinced by the how good that book is. It is a good book, but I could have done better. I could have studied more systematically. I could have learned better. I could have made it easier and simpler for me. So I went back to NCRT environment book and I also found a book on environment whose notes I made. I will upload those notes today in the comment section so you can download them. So these environment notes I made, and these environment notes really helped me. This environment book that I'm talking about really helped me to clear my concepts of ecology as it exists. And then I went into the Shankar IAS book, then I went into NCRT book of environment, and then it was so much easier because unless your concepts are clear, unless your fundamentals are clear in the sense that you understand them in simple words, until then, I think going into the details, then you are just making it much harder for yourself to study. एक्चुअली अभी बीच में 2 मिनट के लिए लाइट चली गई थी, सो आई लॉस्ट माई ट्रेन ऑफ थॉट. बट I think I was talking about art and culture and having context of what you're studying. So I would request all of you, I would suggest to all of you who are just starting your UPSC preparation, or even though if you have spent 6 months, 8 months into the UPSC preparation, that always try to have context of what you're studying and always follow the syllabus. See, one of the things that I used to feel during my UPSC preparation, even the first day, even after 6 months, even after 12 months, even after 18 months of my UPSC preparation, I felt that I was never prepared enough. I always used to have doubt about my own preparation. I always used to think, ठीक से पढ़ा है क्या, ये ठीक से आता है क्या, ये ठीक से नहीं आता क्या, अरे इन्वायरमेंट में स्किप हो गया, अरे पॉलिटी में ये रह गया, ये इतना इंपॉर्टेंट है, इस बार क्वेश्चन शायद आ सकता है उससे. सो आई शुड डाउट माई सेल्फ ए लॉट लाइक दैट. And that doubting, that little bit of doubt, that little bit of concern, that little bit of unsurety will always stay in your mind. But the key to solving that is that you listen to your own heart. You follow the process that you've set for yourself. And by that, I mean that if you have decided, मेरे को ऐसे ऐसे syllabus cover करना है, I have to cover these parts of the syllabus in this particular order. I'm going to read one book at a time like this. Continue the process of studying that way. Answer writing, your previous year questions, keep doing that along the side, because it is very important for you to have a context of what you are studying, and to for you to keep telling yourself, okay, I feel that maybe I'm not prepared enough, but most of the people feel like this. Most of the people out there who are studying for UPSC, including toppers like me, felt like that. So don't worry about that particular feelings that you might have during the preparation. You will always, in fact, till the time you get selected, you will always feel you have left something out, and you will never feel completely at ease. But that is just the way your heart is and the mind is. So don't worry about this. Trust whatever you have done. Have some confidence of whatever you've studied, because that itself will carry you a long way. Now, that being said, the next thing I wanted to also tell is that don't try to get all the sources, don't try to buy all the books in one go. Take it one step at a time. I did not get all the books together in one go. Polity Bilalia, economics book also, everything at one time, test series also, this also, that also. If you're subscribed to a particular, let's say, coaching institute, it's all right, because they will give you a lot of these materials. But whatever core books you have to study for UPSC, Lakshmikant or art and culture, whatever, buy them one at a time. Finish that one and then move on to the next one. Because it is important that you should keep feeling accomplished along the way. If you get everything, then you will always feel cluttered. You will always feel, oh, ye bhi karna hai, wo bhi karna hai. You will always have something surrounded. I have seen some aspirants, having so many books all around them when they're studying. I think keep yourself very neat and clean. I personally used to do that. I used to keep my books that I had to study on that day, one book or one particular set of notes with me, and rest of my books used to be in a bookshelf or somewhere else, completely separate, because I wanted to focus on what is there in front of me today. That's what matters. And I don't need 10 sources to study one thing from. I just need one source. I'm focusing on that. That mind focus is very important. If your mind keeps flying here and there, I don't think you're doing justice to yourself. I don't think you're studying like a proper. Um, I don't think this studying is going to do you any good. All right. And remember, it is not, you might fail, you might succeed in the first attempt itself. I failed in my first attempt. So it is not that failure or success is going to define your next 30 years of life right away now. What is going to define is how you use this time today that you have. So failure might happen, might not happen, but that should not be in your mind. In your mind, what should be कि आज मुझे क्या पढ़ना है? Today, what you have to finish, and that is, I feel, what was very key to me being able to crack this exam. That I was totally focused on improving my writing, improving my previous year questions, the way I was solving questions. I was focused on learning and learning and learning and covering maximum sources. And that was my focus. My focus was finishing the syllabus, doing a lot of practice. That was my focus. And if you have that focus, then that kind of attitude will help you more, rather than just constantly thinking about failure, because that is not in your hand. Your in your hand is your hard work, your consistent work, and that is what I focused on. Apart from that, I think what is very, very important is for you not to listen to people who don't know anything about UPSC. A lot of your relatives, a lot of your friends who don't know anything will give you advice. Will give you advice like only toppers become IAS officers. Will give you advice like only art students become UPSC toppers. That is such a myth. Most of the UPSC toppers are engineers. Most of the people in the IAS, IPS, IRS, all these services, IFS are engineers. So this is such a bad myth. They are doctors, they are commerce students. Art students are actually a very small proportion. So if some art student has topped in such some year, or if some art students have ranked in first top 10, that doesn't mean the rest of the toppers are also art students. So this sampling, this bias sampling that people do is very, very wrong, very, very disinformative. It is very, very maybe even uh, discouraging for a lot of students. So I implore you to please not listen to that. I think what is very important and one thing that really helped me throughout the journey constantly when I was preparing for UPSC is my self belief. Regardless of what happens, I always believed that I could do it. Even though I failed in my first attempt miserably, even though in my second attempt in one of the papers I got such low marks, in essay paper I got only 98 marks. Even then, I believed that I could do it. I might have made mistakes, but I had some confidence in my abilities that I can learn. And I think that is the attitude you should have when you're preparing for UPSC. Be humble, have humility, but have confidence. Having humility and confidence, two things together, is very difficult because normally confidence comes across as something sometimes brute. It does not seem that people who are confident are humble, but when there is humility and confidence, then it really gives you great results because then you know that okay, I don't know everything, I am ready to listen, ready to learn, ready to correct my mistakes, but I have confidence that I can fix these mistakes and I can move forward and I can be better at whatever I am doing. All right, so for example, writing skills, I made my writing skills much better once I started preparing for UPSC because I had lost touch with my writing skills. And when I started writing again, I learned a lot of things about writing, essay writing, answer writing that I think will help me in the long term so much because these skills are lifelong skills. These skills will help me even later. And someone has rightly said that to check anyone's analytical ability, it is not really important if they can solve questions, multiple choice questions. It is important to see if they can process something and write it out, write it in a very easy to understand so that others can also understand it. So I feel like writing skills are something that you should develop. It will really help you throughout your UPSC process and it will also help you in other exams. So I was talking to my brother who was telling me about RBI and NABARD exams, and I have heard that they have also included a section for writing or have a lot of writing portions. Even for many PCS exams, like in Maharashtra, they have introduced the entire paper is now like UPSC paper. So I feel like it is very important for all the aspirants to remember that even today, let's say you are you learning these skills, they might help you in some other career in case you go to some other career. In Amazon, for example, I'll tell you, in Amazon they had a policy that employees were not allowed to give PowerPoint presentations. They had to only write memos and submit them and come to meetings with these write-ups. So when a company like Amazon puts so much emphasis on writing, I think we know why UPSC puts so much emphasis on writing because it helps to see how well you can analytically use your mind and publish it and write it well. So that is very important. I think that skill that you should try to start learning as soon as possible, but don't start doing it from the first day itself. First, finish some parts of the syllabus and then start writing. So these are the few things that I wanted to tell you about the some things that I remember today about my UPSC journey. I will cover more things in these kind of conversations later on. I hope they will help you to kind of be more humanly in touch with the way I thought about UPSC preparation. And I went through the UPSC preparation, my own experiences. If you have any questions, let me know. Happy to solve them, happy to answer them. Take care, bye bye, and keep going. Remember that it is each and every step that matters. You might feel like stopping. You might feel like, okay, I'm not able to walk anymore. I'm not able to go anymore, study anymore. Take one more step. And that one more step will really be a big leap towards the journey, towards the end of the journey that you're looking at here. So with that, I will end my today's lecture and hopefully next time we will have another conversation. Take care. Bye bye.